This week's Grow Your Brain, we are focusing on relationship. The last quarter of the year, we focus on attitude and relationship together. But this fact is purely about relationship and how we relate to one another. Now, this fact goes back for me probably 25 years at least. When we were first married, my wife and I had an opportunity to meet with a pastor who focused on just relationships and building marriages and all this type of thing. And he shared during one of our sessions that the challenge is with a lot of people is if they've had some kind of emotional trauma or emotional impact in their life, then their brain is actually hardwired to stay locked at that age. When they're stressed, they behave out of that level of emotional maturity. So let's say somebody had a really traumatic experience, whether it was emotionally or physically, when they were 12 years old, then when they're stressed or when they're in a situation that demands a higher level of emotional quotient, they actually revert back to that 12-year-old behavior. So if this rings true for you, like it did with me, as soon as he said that, it just made so many of the challenges that I've had in life with different people, it brought in such clarity for me. So it was a real light bulb experience for me. So a couple of points from this. First of all, understand that if you're having challenges in relationships, consider where that other person might be locked emotionally. There could be a trauma in their history that has locked them in a certain type of behavior, and so you're not going to have the kind of mature conflict resolution that you would hope for. The second thing is, as people of influence, certainly as parents, we need to be so careful with what we, how we communicate and how we interact with our kids. The other thing that this pastor said is he said that, it's not so much the actual event, but how the person perceives it. So if you can imagine a 5 or 6-year-old child, maybe a 10 or a 12-year-old child, how they perceive the way that adult is communicating with them, and whether that's our tone or our facial expression or our body language, that can be received a whole lot different than we intended it to be to that child. But to them, that's actually what's happening. So if it comes across as angry or judgmental, then that's how it's going to hit their little hearts. And so they can be frozen in time at that emotional level. So we need to be extra cautious when we're talking to our kids, or we're talking to especially those developing young people that are around us that we have influence over. And the thing that the pastor said is that the more significant that relationship, so whether that's a dad or a mom or a grandparent, the more significant that relationship is in the eyes of that child, the more damaging it can be. So that is just profound if we can start to apply that and think outside of our experience. And again, when we're dealing with people that we've got influence over, it's so important to just take that breath. Don't respond out of kind of maybe what negative scenario that we're coming out of, whether it's at work or another relationship. Don't put that onto that with that other person, especially if you have influence over them. We do that, then we're going to have relationships that are vibrant, that are passionate, that are fulfilling and joy-filled. As we've talked about, so important for the brain is to get that joy boost from our primary relationship. And that's 100 plus living relationships.